John Okafor had always believed that life rewarded patience. For years, he had woken up before dawn, endured the chaos of Lagos traffic, swallowed the bitterness of underpayment, and smiled through the subtle disrespect that came with being just another staff. But all of that changed the day he received the call. "Congratulations, Mr. Okafor. You've been promoted to Senior Operations Manager." Those words didn't just change his career, they changed his entire life. Within weeks, John moved his family from their modest 2-bedroom apartment in Surulere to a spacious company-provided duplex in Lekki. The compound was gated, the floors gleamed like glass, and there was even a small garden his wife, Amara, instantly fell in love with. But the biggest surprise came in the benefits package. You'll also be assigned a domestic staff to assist with household duties, HR had said casually, as if it were nothing. John had laughed then. A domestic staff? Him? It felt like something reserved for wealthy politicians or oil magnates, not a man who just months ago was arguing with bus conductors over change. Amara had mixed feelings about it. "I don't know how I feel about a stranger living in our home," she had said that evening, folding clothes on their new king-sized bed. "It's just help," John replied. "You've been handling everything alone, cooking, cleaning, taking care of the kids. This will make things easier." Amara nodded, but something in her eyes lingered. Uncertainty, maybe even unease. Neither of them knew that this help would soon become the center of a storm. Sonia arrived on a quiet Monday morning. John had just stepped out of the shower when the doorbell rang. Amara went to answer it. The moment the door opened, everything changed. Standing at the entrance was a young woman, tall, poised, and striking in a way that was impossible to ignore. Her skin glowed like polished bronze under the morning sun, her eyes sharp yet calm, and her figure, well, it was the kind that made people pause mid-sentence. Her curves were pronounced, her posture confident. Even in her simple outfit, a fitted blouse and a wrapper tied neatly around her waist, there was something undeniably captivating about her presence. "Good morning, ma," she said softly, her voice smooth and respectful. "My name is Sonia. I was sent from the agency." Amara blinked. For a moment, she forgot to respond. "Oh, yes, come in." Sonia stepped inside gracefully, her movements controlled yet fluid. As she walked, there was a subtle sway to her hips, not exaggerated, not intentional, but natural enough to draw attention. Amara noticed. Of course she noticed, and in that instant, something inside her tightened. John met Sonia a few minutes later. He walked into the living room adjusting his wristwatch, speaking absent-mindedly. "Amara, who?" Then he saw her. He stopped. Just for a second, but that second was enough. "Good morning, sir," Sonia greeted, lowering her gaze slightly in respect. "Good morning. Sonia, right?" "Yes, sir." There was an awkward pause, not because anything inappropriate had been said, but because something had been felt, and all three of them knew it. The first week passed smoothly. Sonia was efficient, almost too efficient. She woke up early, cleaned thoroughly, cooked meals that tasted like they came from a 5-star restaurant, and handled the children with a calm authority that impressed even Amara. "Where did they find this girl?" John whispered one evening. Amara didn't answer immediately. "She's good at her job," she said eventually, but her tone was flat, careful, measured. It started with small things, little moments, the kind that on their own meant nothing, but together formed something dangerous. John would come downstairs in the morning and find Sonia already at work, bending slightly as she wiped the glass table, her concentration fixed on her task. He would look away quickly, too quickly. Other times, he would catch himself watching her walk across the room, the quiet rhythm of her steps, the effortless confidence in her movement. It wasn't intentional, at least that's what he told himself, but attraction doesn't ask for permission. It simply arrives. Amara noticed everything. The quick glances, the unnecessary pauses, the slight change in John's tone whenever he addressed Sonia. She didn't say anything at first. She observed, and what she saw disturbed her deeply. One afternoon, she stood in the kitchen doorway watching as Sonia stirred a pot of soup. The sunlight streamed through the window, highlighting her silhouette, the gentle curve of her waist, the fullness of her hips. Amara folded her arms. "You're very comfortable here," she said suddenly. Sonia turned, surprised. "I try my best, ma." Amara nodded slowly. There was nothing explicitly hostile in her voice, but the tension was there, thick, unspoken. That night, Amara couldn't sleep. She lay beside John, staring at the ceiling. "Do you like her?" she asked quietly. John turned. "What?" "Sonia." He frowned. "What kind of question is that?" "A simple one." John sighed. "She's our staff, Amara. That's all." But his answer came too quickly, too defensively. Amara noticed, and it only made things worse. Days turned into weeks. The house remained peaceful on the surface, but underneath something was shifting, growing. Sonia, for her part, remained professional. She never crossed boundaries, never spoke out of turn, never behaved inappropriately. And yet, her presence alone was enough. It was in the way people reacted to her. The security guard at the gate suddenly became overly helpful whenever she passed. Delivery men lingered a bit longer than necessary. Even the children seemed unusually attached to her. She had an effect, a quiet, undeniable effect. One Saturday afternoon, John hosted a few colleagues at the house. It was meant to be a casual gathering, drinks, laughter, light conversation. Sonia moved in and out of the room serving refreshments with calm efficiency. But as she did, something became obvious. Every man in that room noticed her, every single one. Their conversations faltered when she passed. Their eyes followed her movement even when they tried to hide it. John saw it, and strangely he felt a mix of emotions, pride, possessiveness, and something else he couldn't quite define. Amara saw it too, and for her, there was no confusion, only anger. Later that evening, after the guests had left, the house fell into an uneasy silence. Amara stood by the window, arms crossed tightly. "I don't want her here anymore," she said. John looked up. "What?" "I said I don't want her in this house." "That's not reasonable." "Not reasonable," Amara turned sharply. "Did you not see the way those men were looking at her?" John hesitated. "That's not her fault." "But she's the reason," Amara snapped. The room went quiet, heavy, dangerous. John stood slowly. "This is getting out of hand." "No," Amara said, her voice low and steady. "What's getting out of hand is the way you look at her." That hit harder than anything else. John froze. For a moment, he had no response, because deep down, he knew she wasn't entirely wrong. Upstairs in her small room, Sonia sat on the edge of her bed. She had heard everything, every word. She stared at her hands, her expression unreadable. This wasn't the first time. She had seen it before, this tension, this silent war that her presence seemed to ignite. But something about this house felt different, more complicated, more dangerous. She exhaled slowly. "What have I stepped into?" she whispered. Downstairs, the argument continued. "You don't trust me?" John asked. Amara's eyes softened just for a moment. "I trust you," she said, "but I don't trust what temptation can do." Silence, because that was the truth. And in that silence, something fragile began to crack, not loudly, not visibly, but enough to change everything.